Natalie Wood's last film was supposed to be her grand comeback. Instead, her mysterious death turned it into chaos. Studios locked sets, rumors spread, and the project was nearly scrapped. What really happened that night on the yacht? And why was Hollywood so desperate to bury her last film? This is the shocking story of a movie derailed by tragedy and the secrets surrounding Natalie's final days. Natalia Nikolaevna Zakharenko, later known as Natalie Wood, was born on July 20, 1938, in San Francisco, California. Her parents were Russian immigrants with interesting stories. Her mother, Maria Gurdin, came from Barnaul in southern Siberia. Her father, Nicholas Zakharenko, was from Primorsky Krai. The family changed their names to fit into American society. Their last name went from Zakharenko to Gurdin when they became U.S. citizens. Natalie's interest in acting started in an unusual way. In 1942, when she was just 4 years old, her family moved to Santa Rosa and bought a house. During a local movie shoot, she caught the attention of film director Irving Pichel. According to her younger sister Lana, Pichel was so impressed he even wanted to adopt her. Pichel stayed in touch with Natalie's family, and when a role became available for a young child in the movie Tomorrow is Forever in 1946, he recommended her. Natalie, then only 7 years old, auditioned and secured the role. But landing this role wasn't without its challenges. During an emotional scene, Natalie struggled to cry on cue. To make her cry, her mother shockingly tore apart a butterfly in front of her. Though this method was harsh, it worked, and Natalie delivered a performance so moving that Wells later described her as so good, she was terrifying. Natalie's big break came in the classic holiday movie Miracle on 34th Street in 1947. Behind the scenes, she was juggling 3 movies at the same time, playing different characters, one with an English accent. Her mother told her to copy another child star, Margaret O'Brien, while acting in this role. Natalie also truly believed Edmund Gwenn, who played Santa Claus, was the real Santa. At the wrap party, when she saw him without his beard and wig, she was completely shocked. Even as a child, she showed great professionalism, often helping other actors remember their lines when they forgot. The movie wasn't small scale either. It had a budget of $1.5 million, much higher than the average Hollywood film at the time. As she grew older, Natalie successfully moved into adult roles, starting with Rebel Without a Cause in 1955. At just 16, she wanted to play the role of Judy, but the director, Nicholas Ray, didn't think she fit. He saw her as too innocent and too pure for the part. Things changed after a car accident with actor Dennis Hopper. At the hospital, instead of calling her parents, Natalie asked the staff to contact Nicholas Ray. When he arrived, she famously said, "Nick, they called me a juvenile delinquent. Now, do I get the part?" This bold move convinced him to cast her. She also credited James Dean, her co-star, for teaching her to relax before playing tense, which changed how she acted. Her performance earned her an Academy Award nomination for Best Supporting Actress. Even though she didn't win the Oscar, losing to Jo Van Fleet, she did win a Golden Globe as the most promising newcomer. In 1961, Natalie gave one of her most praised performances in Splendor in the Grass. She played Deanie, a young woman struggling with intense emotional and societal pressures, which led her character to madness. Director Elia Kazan chose Natalie because he saw something special in her, a mix of innocence and hidden wildness. Many people in the industry thought her career was fading, but Kazan believed in her talent. This role earned Natalie her first Best Actress Oscar nomination. although she lost to Sophia Loren. Still, the part transformed her career, showing everyone what she was capable of. 2 years later, Natalie received her third Oscar nomination for Love with The Proper Stranger, 1963. This made her only the second actress ever to earn 3 nominations before turning 25, following Teresa Wright. These 3 nominations solidified her place in Hollywood as a powerful dramatic actress. In 1961, Natalie starred as Maria in West Side Story, one of her most famous roles. The movie was a huge success, becoming the highest-grossing film of the year and winning 10 Academy Awards. Although her singing voice was dubbed by Marni Nixon, her performance was praised for its emotional depth. The movie was so important that in 1997 it was selected for preservation in the National Film Registry for being culturally and historically significant. By 1966, Natalie's life became very difficult. After several box office failures like Sex and the Single Girl, 1964, and The Great Race, 1965, she was even given a Worst Actress of the Year award by Harvard Lampoon. Her personal life was also in turmoil. She had a troubled relationship with Warren Beatty and several other complicated romances. Things reached a breaking point when, after a visit from Beatty, Natalie attempted suicide by taking barbiturates. Her housemate, Mart Crowley, heard her cries for help and rushed her to the hospital, saving her life. After this, Natalie made big changes. She paid Warner Brothers $175,000 to break her contract and fired her entire support team, including her agents and managers. She then stepped away from Hollywood for 3 years to focus on her mental health and well-being. During this time, she started therapy and found peace in her relationship with Richard Gregson, whom she married in 1969. Her comeback started in an amazing way with the 1969 movie Bob and Carol and Ted and Alice. For this role, she made a smart deal to get a share of the movie's profits instead of just a set payment. This choice made her a huge $3 million, a record at the time. The movie was a big hit and marked her return to Hollywood, but she decided to take fewer roles after that. She wanted to focus on her personal life. In the 1980s, she aimed for another big comeback with the movie Brainstorm. This was meant to bring her back to mainstream Hollywood after she had mostly been doing TV work and raising her family. The director, Douglas Trumbull, thought she was the perfect choice for the role of Karen Brace. He believed she could handle the deep emotions the character needed to show. The movie Brainstorm had a very futuristic idea. It was about a brain-computer device that could record and replay human experiences like feelings, memories, and even the experience of dying. The device was shown as a headset that could capture everything from simple touches to deep emotions. The concept felt like science fiction at the time, but it has become more realistic as virtual reality and similar technologies have developed. Natalie Wood was particularly drawn to the film's fresh and innovative approach to storytelling and technology, which made it stand out from other movies. The preparation for the film was quite unique. The cast took part in special exercises, like Stanley Groff's hypertropic breathing work. This involved looking at certain images, listening to specific music, and deliberately hyperventilating to over-oxygenate the brain. It was an unusual method, but it helped the actors get into the right mindset for the movie. They also attended a rebirthing class together, though Natalie found a clever way to skip the part where they had to go in a hot tub. Her co-star, Louise Fletcher, later said that the mood on set was both fun and professional. She described the connection among the cast as brief but meaningful. In late November 1981, Natalie Wood was almost done with her role in the science fiction movie Brainstorm, where she starred with Christopher Walken. She had only a few scenes left, and the filming was supposed to finish before Christmas. That weekend, on November 28, 1981, Natalie went on a trip aboard a 60-foot yacht called Splendor with her husband, Robert Wagner, Christopher Walken, and the yacht captain, Dennis Davern. They had dinner at a restaurant called Doug's Harbor Reef in Two Harbors. The night manager, Don Whiting, noticed they had been drinking a lot and asked the harbor patrol to make sure they got back to the boat safely. The group returned to the yacht around 10:30 p.m., but the mood quickly turned tense. Wagner, angry about Walken being on the trip, allegedly smashed a bottle and yelled at Walken, accusing him of trying to steal his wife. Natalie went to her cabin around midnight, while Wagner and Walken kept arguing, this time about politics. The tension had been there throughout the trip, and Wagner seemed upset from the beginning. What happened next remains a mystery. Sometime that night, Wagner discovered Natalie was missing from her cabin. This was around 11:05 p.m. Natalie had always been afraid of deep water, and as a child, a fortune teller had even told her she would die by drowning. Despite this, it took 4 hours before anyone called for help. A nearby boat owner, Marilyn Wayne, said she heard a woman crying for help around 11 p.m. The cries lasted about 15 minutes, and someone on the water responded saying, "Take it easy, we'll be over to get you." But no one came. Wagner didn't radio for help until 1:30 a.m., and the Coast Guard wasn't alerted until 3:30 a.m. Natalie's body was found the next morning at 8 a.m., floating face down about a mile from the yacht. She was wearing a nightgown, socks, and a red jacket. The dinghy was nearby, with the oars locked in place, suggesting she hadn't even tried to start it. The autopsy showed she had bruises on her body and a cut on her cheek. At first, her death was ruled as an accidental drowning, but in 2013, her death certificate was changed to drowning and other undetermined factors. Investigators noted that there were conflicting stories about what happened that night, including whether Natalie had argued with Wagner. In 2018, her death was officially called suspicious, and Wagner was named a person of interest in the case. To this day, her death remains one of Hollywood's greatest unsolved mysteries. When Natalie Wood died, the news quickly reached MGM. The studio saw this as a chance to stop working on a movie that was already facing problems. Within hours of her death, MGM made a bold move. They ordered all the sets to be locked up, with no one allowed in or out without special permission. This decision wasn't just about her death. MGM was having money problems and used her passing as an excuse to cancel the costly production. They even tried to claim $15 million in insurance money from Lloyd's of London. What made this worse was that Wood had already finished most of her scenes, and the remaining parts could have been done with only small changes. The studio's actions felt like something from the movie itself, where big companies try to shut down important scientific work. The fight to finish the movie Brainstorm turned into a huge battle. The director, Douglas Trumbull, worked hard to save the film. At one point, he even locked himself in a vault with the movie's negatives, so the studio couldn't destroy them. Things changed when Lloyd's of London got involved. They interviewed Trumbull and other crew members and found out the film could still be completed. Instead of paying out the insurance claim, Lloyd's of London chose to help finish the movie. They gave $2.75 million to wrap up filming and another $3.5 million for post-production. This battle went on for almost 2 years. During that time, other studios showed interest in buying Brainstorm from MGM. This pressure made MGM realize they would look bad if they gave up on a project that others thought was valuable. Eventually, MGM allowed the movie to be finished, but the experience was so hard on Trumbull that he decided he would never direct another Hollywood film again. He said making movies was like going to war and that it ruined his personal life. To finish the movie, the director, Douglas Trumbull, had to use 3 body doubles for Wood. Marlon Mason was used for walking scenes, Betty Whitehead for dialogue scenes filmed from behind, and Susan Keating for close-ups of hands and partial profile shots. The doubles had to look just like Wood, so they matched her exact height, weight, and dress size. The script needed big changes to deal with this crisis. It was rewritten 11 times by screenwriter Robert Garrison, who worked non-stop to adjust scenes that heavily featured Wood. One major change happened in a key laboratory scene, where Wood's character was supposed to have an emotional breakdown. Since they couldn't film this with her, the scene was recreated using a mix of old footage, shots of body doubles filmed from behind, and clever use of mirrors to make it look like she was still in the movie. The movie's special effects team also had to adjust their plans because of budget cuts after Wood's death. They originally planned 82 big effects scenes, but had to cut that down to 51. One of the most ambitious sequences, a 7-minute memory transfer scene, was completely redesigned. Instead of using expensive practical effects, the team created it using a mix of early CGI and traditional optical effects, saving a lot of money. When the movie, after 2 years of Wood's death, it did not perform well at the box office. It earned only $10.2 million, even though it cost about $18 million to make. When it first opened, it was shown on only a small number of screens and didn't have much advertising. Because of this, it made just $1.19 million in its opening weekend. This failure was even harder to accept because the movie had a lot of problems during production. Delays caused the costs to go up, which made the situation worse. Critics had mixed feelings about the movie. On Rotten Tomatoes, only 57% of the reviews were positive. Still, the movie received some recognition at the 11th Saturn Awards. Louise Fletcher won Best Actress, and James Horner won Best Music. It was also nominated for several awards, including Best Science Fiction Film, Best Director, Best Special Effects, and a posthumous nomination for Natalie Wood as Best Supporting Actress. The legacy of Brainstorm is complicated. Many people remember it as Natalie Wood's last movie. It also ended Douglas Trumbull's career as a Hollywood director. The difficult experience of making the movie left him deeply upset. He once said, "I have no interest in doing another Hollywood feature film. The movie business is so totally screwed up that I just don't have the energy to invest 3 or 4 years in a feature film." In 2013, Trumbull shared that Natalie Wood's tragic and uncertain death was a big part of why he made this decision. Despite all the problems, Brainstorm later found a small but loyal audience. Over time, people began to appreciate it for exploring ideas like virtual reality and human consciousness long before these became popular topics. Natalie Wood's romantic life was as eventful as her movie roles. She married Robert Wagner on December 28, 1957, when she was only 19. At first, their marriage seemed like a perfect Hollywood story. Wagner's good looks matched her rising fame. But things fell apart in 1961. It's said she found Wagner in an awkward situation with another man. They divorced in 1962. The public heard different reasons for the split, with rumors about Wood having an affair with her co-star, Warren Beatty. After the divorce, she married British producer Richard Gregson on May 30, 1969. They had a daughter, Natasha, in 1970. But this marriage didn't last either. Wood overheard Gregson saying something inappropriate to his secretary. She separated from him in August 1971, and their divorce became final in April 1972. Surprisingly, Wood went back to Robert Wagner and married him again in 1972. Their first public appearance as a couple was at the Academy Awards that same year. They had another daughter, Courtney, in 1974. Life seemed to come full circle for Wood, but everything ended tragically when she died in 1981 under mysterious circumstances. Behind her glamorous life, Natalie Wood dealt with deep personal struggles. As a child, she faced trauma and pressure from her ambitious mother. Her mother reportedly tried to use Wood's innocence to gain favor with Frank Sinatra. At 15, Wood was reportedly assaulted by a powerful Hollywood figure. At 16, she was manipulated into a relationship with the director of Rebel Without a Cause, who said it would make her acting better. To handle her pain, Wood turned to therapy and became one of the first Hollywood stars to talk openly about it. She went to therapy 5 times a week. She even gave up the lead role in Bonnie and Clyde because she didn't want to leave her therapist. Despite her struggles, Wood found joy in being a mother. She wanted to give her daughters the happy childhood she never had. She built a logical family with nannies, assistants, and friends to create a stable home. In her Beverly Hills house, she surrounded herself with love and support, trying to make the life she had always wanted.